Hi everyone, my name is Jimmy Soroka, also known as Feet-Peace. Feet-Peace is also the most positive community in the world. And if you've been tuned in for the past couple of years, then you know that my life has been one rocky road, that everyone has come down with me. And since the beginning, my goals were always to build the most positive community in the world. But realistically, I ended up helping create some very negative people. And I've become very negative myself. After getting on an organic diet and cutting out most of the drama in my life and learning how to build healthier boundaries, which I'm still learning how to do, as well as being with Caitlin and, you know, learning what it means to love, regardless of race, gender, religion, orientation, or age. My journey has officially begun. And if you're not able to comment right now, it is because I have the comments set to those who I follow only. And I've followed about 10 people, I think, out of over 400. And I'm thankful that all of you are here. But those of you who can comment. It's because you are people who have consistently over the years shown, either through your silence or the things that you have said, that whether or not I trust you yet, you're someone that is safe and healthy for me to be around without, being abused. So for those of you who may not be able to speak right now, I want you to know that it is not me revoking your freedom of speech, because in your real life, you have your own freedom of speech. And in my life and on my pages, it is my right to run things in a way that is going to be healthy it's going to be good for my health. And it doesn't mean that you're unhealthy for me. It means that there are so many people that have been unhealthy to me that I am scared and I am afraid. And as far as that turning into paranoia, it it has become something that appears to be paranoia when really it is a very high level of anxiousness and then fear of the unknown, not knowing what someone's intentions are, not knowing whether or not what they have to say is going to help me or hurt me. And so as I move myself to a much healthier place, and with gratitude to Periscope, let me say that thank you so much to the Periscope team and Twitter for giving me my account back, that I won't mess it up this time. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know what it looks like right now. And what it looks like right now is me being very safe and very cautious and being careful with who I trust, because I have a big heart and it can get hurt really easy at this point. And I can't afford to be hurt anymore. And I can't afford to risk getting hurt anymore, any more than the minimal ways. I have to guard my heart and protect myself and feel that I am in a safe space, which I know on Periscope I am in a safe space. And Periscope and YouTube, I've been comparing them, but realistically, they each have their own facets that are beneficial to the community as a whole, the world community as a whole, and not just the online community. And those benefits are really going to be based on how we decide to utilize these platforms. And I've definitely utilized both of them in a very ill fashion. I built a following on YouTube of people who appreciate travel, when realistically I was living homelessly, and uh, it was not a very effective way to, bring people on board with my life, or to, build that positive community, because it was just constant turmoil and fear for me and for others. And I think we got a lot of scared and concerned moms, really, and dads that follow us, and or maybe a whole lot of concerned moms and a whole lot of men who um, maybe discarded responsibility the same way that I've been doing. And I'm working really hard to continue to build my responsibilities up. And I'm really, really scared. That's my truth right now, is that I am absolutely terrified. And how do I feel? No one's asking how I feel, but I need to it, it matters. I need to tell you how I feel, because I want to tell you how I feel, because it's like, on some level, I want to believe that you actually care. And I am terrified because I feel like I have nowhere to turn. But as soon as I turn the screen off and I look at Kate, I know I have one person I can turn to. And I think a lot of people are and even then it's very, very difficult for me to do. And I think a lot of people are really struggling with the idea that I could not be paranoid, that I could know a lot more than I wish to know, and that at the end of the day, I do not want to fight the power. I do not wish to be in a battle. I'm not a warrior. I'm a peacemaker, you know, and that's who I've always been. That's who I've always been, just like Kate, a peacemaker. And the only friends I have left in my life, I can count them on one hand. Katie, someone else, someone else, and someone else. I have 4 friends. And you know what? People say in life that you're lucky to ever have 1 or 2 or 3 people that you can trust with your life. And I do have 4 people that I can trust with my life. And that's a really good feeling. And it's what I focus on to help me get through the day. And, these 4 people are all from very different worlds. And I mean, in the most polarizing sense, they are from the most different worlds that you could possibly imagine. And it's so cool that is my round table, that's my little group. And I'm starting to come to find that my greatest mentors were not the criminals, because I said on YouTube about how I've been mentored on only the most compassionate ways by criminals. And what I've learned is those criminals were not my mentors. And the one person who has a criminal past is no longer a criminal. And so for me, or maybe they never were, right? Because what I'm learning is that criminality is really country per country right now in the world. And it may not be that way forever, but it is right now. And instead of living my life as though everyone is an American, I need to realize that we all live in different countries. And to respect someone else is to respect their laws and to respect their statutes and their space. And as I sit here with you, I'm a citizen of America. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But I want to make very clear what I hear when that's said. I don't hear the guarantee of happiness. I don't hear the ability to attain happiness. I hear life, right? I have my life. Liberty. Liberty and freedom are 2 different things. And I do love my liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And now that I'm no longer pursuing happiness, I think that's why I have happiness. And so that's why I feel very detached from the American dream. I feel very detached from my identity as an American citizen. And although I am an American citizen, I'm trying to figure out, what is the healthiest thing that I can do with my citizenship if I don't identify with most of the things that people desire. Because realistically, when we talk about freedoms, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, all of these things, are they really granted to us by the powers that be, or because we allowed there to be powers that be, we now believe that someone is providing us with a right, when realistically, it's not that we're being provided with a right. We're being provided with the security in order to exercise that right safely. And that is very valuable. But I think somewhere along the line, we forgot. And I'm here to remind you through the life that I live, rather than just the words that I say, that the freedoms that I have as an American have a lot to do with the fact that it is America that provides me with the security to express my freedoms freely. They do not provide me with my freedoms. Because I'm free to live as a human being regardless, but there are most definitely consequences to my actions. Regardless of what the state says or the government says, there are still consequences to my actions. And that's why I know, just like they don't decide what my freedoms are, they also don't decide what my consequences are. you do, because now I finally see that we live in a democratic state, obviously mixed with free market economy and other things that I don't fully understand. But what I do recognize is that I am an American citizen, and that means so much more to me than it did before. And yet, on some level, I still feel trapped by my country. And I think that me feeling trapped in America has a lot more to do with my lack of acceptance of others and the state than it does with anything else. And so for me in my life, I'm coming to accept that the security that America provides me with is very valuable. And I need to learn to appreciate that and show gratitude for that through properly expressing my freedoms as a human being. Because my freedoms as a human being can be revoked by the state if I abuse the security they provide. And that is completely appropriate in my standpoint. And so as California begins to move into a direction where if you do abuse the right of, free speech and certain other things, then you can potentially face some very harsh, reprimandation. And I support that. As far as what people may or may not be doing with it, I don't have to support that or not support it. But what I do support is the idea that we are responsible for our behavior online. Because if I had been held responsible for my behavior online back in 2017, then maybe I would have been sued in 2017, and I would have learned to shut my mouth very quickly. And I would have figured out how to, if I cared enough to do this, that I would have put the work in to do it. And I wouldn't have just mouthed off for years and years and hurt a lot of people, because consequences need to exist on the internet just like they exist in real life. And just because someone has the freedom to say something negative, it is important to understand that when you talk to 5 people in real life or 1 person in real life and you gossip about something, it's going to have a very different impact than if you're talking to thousands of people on the internet. And so while we may feel that our rights or our freedoms are being imposed upon with the movement of laws towards internet security and certain levels of censorship, I genuinely believe that we don't have something to be afraid of. Because if one thing America has a track record for is not taking things too far, but always taking them just far enough. And that is something that I would like to implement in my life as an American citizen from now on, is that what I do and how I do it is I take it just far enough. And I agree with the standpoint of where here in Pennsylvania, we have the freedom of individuality. That's something that I recognize very heavily, is that we have the freedom of individuality. It's something that is very important to Pennsylvania citizens in our state is our individuality. As far as community, I think community is something that is very difficult for us to do in our state. And that is simply based on what I see around me. A lot of people living their own way, and, there's a difference between getting along and really just like, hey, how you doing? Move on, ignore each other. And that is not a downfall of our state. That is just the current state of our state. I go to California. People are very accepting and loving and open, or they're very cold shoulder, one or the other. And I'm not a Californian, so I can't speak for how Californians live or what their truth is, which is why my part of this conversation has to end right here. Because I can't speak for California, because I'm not a Californian right now. I haven't lived in Texas. I can't speak for Texans right now. But I can speak for Pennsylvanians because I'm a Pennsylvanian, or at least a Northeast Pennsylvanian. How many people can I truly speak for other than myself? None. None. Katie, can you do this hashtag? Thank you. So while I begin my political speech and I try to persuade and all I know is what I know. And I don't think I know all that much. I'm scared of everything. When if I just do it properly, I really don't have to be scared of anything. I'm afraid to do it properly because I think I have a fear of success, a fear of commitment. And that fear of commitment has come from just constantly feeling left behind. And so I'm afraid that the next time I commit to something, it's going to attack me, it's going to hurt me, it's going to let me down. And when I hopped on social media, when I hopped on Periscope, when I hopped on YouTube, everywhere, the reactions I got didn't exactly help me build trust. It didn't exactly help me build a desire for commitment. But being with Caitlin, it has made commitment possible. And so, as I say to you, that Katie and I have been together for 1 year through ups and downs of an absorbently inappropriate proportion. We are still together. And that's the one thing that I need to focus on. Because it's the reason I don't get worse again. Is as soon as I stay focused on those who are committed to me, as I desire to be committed to them, and that they don't leave me or, give me like real crap every time we miscommunicate, and that they don't have these ridiculously large expectations of me that I don't know how to meet yet, but I want to learn how. I hope you all know that more than anything, I would love to open up these comments. I would. I just don't feel safe. And it's not Periscope making me feel unsafe. It is not my country making me feel unsafe. My country keeps me safe. Periscope gives me the option to protect myself. It is many very vicious people making me feel very unsafe. And if I continue to choose to let them make me feel unsafe, then they will continue to seek to make me feel unsafe. And so, as I saw a photo of someone who bought a Feet Piece t-shirt last night, you can ask Katie how I reacted. Come here, baby. What did I do? How did I feel?
I was so happy. I actually started to tear up. It was so beautiful to watch.
I don't care how you find your happiness.
Yeah.
No, I don't. How you find your happiness is not as important to me anymore as if you find your happiness. Because what else do I have left? My goal was always to help people or make people happy or smile or be in a good place or at least feel like they have friends. Feel like you have friends, right? Because you do. Am I your friend? I'd like to be, but it's like every time I try to be somebody's friend, they just use me. And even if I know that the person who bought that VP's t-shirt is being used, I know on some level they're not being used, just like on some level I'm not being used. And I have to believe that because I think just as much as protecting or just as much as promoting good is important, I think defending against bad is just as important. What I will say though is protecting, defending against defending what is important by attacking what is not good is a very important thing. And that's why I want to speak to the other feet piece out there who does, who is the other feet piece. And I want to say that I looked at your profile and I think what you're doing is a great thing if you do it well and focus on those who truly are creating negativity. And so long as you make me the centerpiece of that, you're actually missing out on a wonderful opportunity to protect people from bad people. And I think deep down in your heart, and I'm sorry for the ways that I've hurt you, I think that there are a lot of ways you really could prevent bad because you know so much more than I thought you knew. And I respect that. But me being your target is actually making it like you are further creating a job for yourself that you could have if you truly simply put the spotlight and focus on people who truly are seeking to do bad or are doing bad instead of just people who are doing poorly. Because I hope that maybe you can finally recognize the difference that I am doing poorly. I'm not on purpose doing bad. And I came to the point where I was willing to, on purpose, do bad because people wouldn't treat me well. And I wouldn't create a boundary to say that I wasn't willing to say that so many people could be wrong about me because I was insecure. I was afraid of myself, and I still am afraid of myself. But I know deep down that I'm not a tragedy. I know deep down that even though my life ended at 5 months old, that's not the actual truth. But like, imagine if you had no actual answers, or maybe you do. Maybe you know just what that feels like to have no real answers because all the people that are left that could answer your questions are either dead or their brains are scrambled by what happened to them. So, as Caitlin breathes in my ear, and it makes me so uncomfortable, and it just, baby, I love you. And it just totally wants to throw me into a trigger, right? Am I a bad guy? Or is it possible that I'm that badly hurt? And that my brain is in a state of constant fear over everything that's happened to me in my whole life, and I'm learning how to get over it. But I do know deep down that Katie loves me, and I have to remind myself that moment after moment that she doesn't mean to do the things she does. She didn't mean to feed me stimulant powder on an empty stomach that made me violently vomit. And then, as I threw up and I finished throwing up, I look her in the face and I smile and I'm crying. I said, baby, I love you. Don't. The one thing you can do for me right now is forgive yourself. She's asking, well, what can I do for you? Forgive yourself. That's the one thing you can do. Because the one thing I have learned in all of my efforts here in life, the faster that I forgive myself, the more effectively, productively, and with love that I can take responsibility for what I've done wrong and be able to make better choices in the present and in the future. Because when my brain is not bogged down by fear and then mixed with that hating myself, then I can't make things better. And then I need somebody else to make them at least stay the same for me, either through pills or through whatever else. But as long as I keep forgiving myself at a very deep level, then I can get through this without the need for medication. I can get through this without the need for exacerbant therapy. I can get through this without the need for a breakup or a separation of any kind anymore. Because this world needs to come together so much more than it needs to separate right now. And why do I know that? Because we can look at Texas and we see how polarizing they are as a state within the United States as compared to California. Now, I don't know the internal workings, but that part is quite obvious. And sitting here in the middle in Pennsylvania, where part, this didn't all start here, but where something special started here. Let's continue that legacy because America deserves to live on. We do. We do. And as a major world power, we have a lot of responsibility. And if we as citizens are willing to step up and be part of that responsible, community, then our country can live on. And even if there's nothing we can do to stop it from ending or continuing, at least we can be responsible with the citizenship that we are privileged to have, because it is a privilege. And when we abuse privilege, it becomes entitlement. I'm not entitled to my American citizenship. I was born into it. It's my heritage. And I may have a heritage before America, being a country of immigrants, and also, you know, where things started may not have not been all that great. But you know what? That's the story of my life. But if we judge where we are now based on where we were, what are things going to look like moving into the future? Because I know that if I judge my life based on my past, both what I've done and the things that have happened to me, there's no possible way for me to heal or get better. And I refuse to believe that America has had its last chance. I believe that social media and the internet is a very good thing because it's getting out the cobwebs in the corners. It's helping to unweave a lot of lies and not expose people, but really helping to correct a lot of wrongs that are happening and leaving it to the people to make sure that that gets done. Really, truly keeping America, America. And so, while there's a lot of people that are afraid of censorship and things like that, let me tell you, from a mountain view perspective, not saying I'm above you, but from the way that I look at things, I look at things from the top down. And it doesn't mean I'm above them, but I just try to like get the most perspective I possibly can. What's happening now in America with the fusion of technology and government is a very beautiful thing because it's not giving people a safer place to hide. It is making sure that our the piece of our government and our the piece of our country that is a democracy stays a democracy, because where things started and the way that the structure was built, it was only built for so many people, right? And so as more and more people come into our country, it's so important that there's a system of accountability that is put in place, and technology is helping to ensure that that happens. And while we're worried about things going wrong, Mark Zuckerberg is dealing with the government. Like there's not dealing with, but like based in brass tacks facts, you can't get away with bad stuff. And that's why I think our government is so necessary, and this technological industry is necessary as well. And I think it's time for Texas and California to come to a consensus of understanding that California is part of the reason why those of you in Texas have the ability to do what you do. And those of you in California, part of the reason why you have the freedoms to do what you do is, to build what you're building, is partially because of those in Texas who everybody's afraid of because they won't give up their guns. And so I don't think giving up our guns is all that smart of an idea, because we still need them. I think there's going to be a day when we don't. I really do think there's going to be a day when we don't. But if we give them up now, there's too much to be afraid of to give them up now. I will agree with that. But I will also agree with California and say, we don't need guns if we do the right thing. If we simply are good to each other, we don't need the guns. And so instead of polarizing ourselves against one another, start coming together and realizing that part of the reason why we're going to become a better world is because of the fact that our country as a whole is very different polarizing states. And as the internet comes to be, those countries are going to realistically, I mean, we're like our own countries. A lot of states are like their own countries, because Katie and I, through travels, a lot of you, I bet, through travels, have seen that cultures are so different depending on where you are in America. But we have an American culture, and we can keep our own culture while sharing a culture on the internet of healthy communication. It is very possible. So, and why do I say it's possible? Because as I sit here as a Pennsylvanian who absolutely never understood, accepted, or agreed with the idea of any gender or anything like that beyond heterosexuality, and through, you know, natural birthright through the church, I recognize that there is no way that that's the absolute truth, because when I go over to California, homosexuality is literally the baseline. Like, everything is good. And so for me, it's such a foreign concept. But just because I'm all the way on the other side of the country doesn't mean that they're wrong or that I'm wrong. It means that we definitely don't understand each other. And the only way we're going to come to find what pieces of truth do exist is by coming together and trying to work that out. Figure out what pieces are true and what aren't. And we don't do that by arguing with each other. We do that by living with one another and finding out what works, just like what we did with Josh. Because Josh is down south, and so he is in a very different position. And when he came here, we all had culture shock. And I think it was very unhealthy the way that we did it, but it definitely worked out for the best for everyone. And I don't think it's a process that should be repeated. I do not recommend that you do or don't do what we did, but I wouldn't do what we did again. Moving in with people of a completely polarized culture without having any compassion towards one another. And that's what happened is 3 very entitled people moved into one space, abused their rights and abused the rights of each other. And it created a very negative space. And that is not just on me. Because I used Katie and Josh on accident. And I think they used me on accident too. But as we move forward, if we keep being so entitled, we're going to use each other on purpose. And that's not a person I'm willing to be. So that's my truth right now, is that I'm very ignorant. And even though I've walked across America and I've seen 30-some states, I still know nothing about almost anyone because I only made it about the experience. I used my country for its land. And I ended up turning myself into real estate for everyone else to build stock on by stalking me. I don't know what to do. That's all I got right now. I'm not leaving you. You want to talk to him?
Sure.
Okay. Because realistically, we should have been doing this broadcast together. But what is my natural thought? Periscope? Me. Me. But Periscope is us now.
Hi, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, baby. Do you have an ability to not make me look bad?
Well, you just...
Baby.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you for saying it to them before you said it to me. You ask for humble pie, you get fed humble pie. And now we both have humble pie. I love you too. I love you too. But am I just supposed to say it first because I'm the man? That doesn't sound like equality. Just because I forgot and I have everything on my plate. But I'm going to rein you out for it? No. I'm going to say Happy Valentine's Day, baby. I love you. And we're going to learn to love each other better every day. You ready? Okay. Okay, careful. It's going to hurt a little bit. Okay. All right, you're good. You'll get a little bit in there. Yeah. We're going to learn to love each other better every day. Every day. We forgot about the seasons and the time and the holidays pretty much altogether. We've lost our culture. Or realistically, we gave it up. And so now we don't know what our culture is. Because every culture that comes our way lies to us on some level. And so we're really scared. But there are two entities that have not lied to us. Our country and the internet. The culture of the internet has not lied to us. People on the internet have lied to us. But the internet has not lied to us. And the government has not lied to us. People in the government have lied to us. People having to do and on the internet have lied to us. But the internet in itself is an entity that is not alive, but it is an umbrella that keeps us safe. And we're smart enough to rely on both to safely live our lives as who we are, as we seek out people who share at least pieces of our culture. A culture of love, not just a culture of life or a culture of death. We live a culture of love because we want to culture love. We want to grow it. And that can't happen without a safe greenhouse to keep us from the cold in the winter, and a good farmer to come in and make sure that, you know, the crops are cultivated. Or I should say, water coming through the hose for us to water the plants. And you guys are plants just like we are. So really, there's a farmer somewhere out there. I just don't know who they are. But we're not being farmed to be harvested, because that's a crazy thought. We're just a beautiful garden that someone is enjoying. God, maybe. I don't know. But so long as we're safe and happy, I'm not interested in fighting the power because I'm safe and happy. And that's the one thing that I look around at most people in my environment that they're seeking. But while other people are trying to silence someone else's voice to say that they're more safe if that person goes away, or that they're more comfortable if that person goes away, I'm not making you go away. But one by one, you're going away. Okay. Okay. And no longer am I going to make people go away. I'm going to find a way to simply moderate and allow people to be themselves. And so now we're going to restart this broadcast, and the comments are going to be public, and we're going to work our way through it.
Okay.
On Valentine's Day. Unless you would like to spend our Valentine's Day alone between the two of us. The reason that that is not something that I want is because I know there are so many people like us out there who are completely alone. And although Valentine's Day is for our relationship, every day is for our relationship. And we can help show them that by being there for them too, while we're here for ourselves, with each other. How do you feel? Truly, baby. You can look at me and tell me if you want this day alone. Done. Easy. And I mean that. You do not owe them anything, and I don't owe them anything. I'm the one that wants to give, but I need your help letting me know if I'm giving too much.
I would like to go out and take a walk today, but I think it is beautiful to love everybody.
So maybe we love them best by focusing on ourselves and taking the day. And let's go take a walk. And that way they'll know that this is how they that maybe could be a good example of how they treat their relationship. That the screen isn't the only place that we exist yet. That future may be coming, but it's not here yet. So let's live in the now. I love you. Peace out. We love you guys. Happy Valentine's Day.